Hello, everyone. I am Tez Steinberg, and I'm so stoked to welcome you all back to another episode of the United World Challenge podcast. I wasn't planning on releasing another episode of the podcast. Our last one was in spring 2020, before the row began. But I recently interviewed two graduates of United World College of the USA, two of the students that the United World Challenge sponsored. And the conversation was fantastic, hearing from them, hearing how UWC changed their lives. And so I decided, let's share this as a final recap to show the power of community. Hundreds of people came together to support our crowd fund that funded the education of Ariane and Yvette Karera, who I interviewed and follow this, as well as another UWC student. And now you'll get to see just how incredible these young students are. And I trust you'll agree, these young people are going on to change the world. And so without further ado, here's the conversation with Ariane and Yvette Karera, who graduated from United World College of the USA thanks to support from the United World Challenge.
Got it. Okay, yeah, got it.
Awesome. Ariane, Yvette, I am so stoked to be speaking with you. Thank you for making time.
Yeah, you as well. It's always so nice to see your face.
So this is a recording for United World Challenge supporters to get an understanding of who are Ariane and Yvette and what has your experience been like at United World College. And so just to frame our conversation today for folks who are listening, United World Colleges are a network of schools in 18 countries, taking students from 155 countries to finish high school together, to learn and study with each other and make a peaceful and sustainable world. And that's a heady, lofty idea, but it changed my life when I was 17 and got a scholarship to United World College of the Adriatic in Italy. And ever since then, I wanted to give that experience to new students. Didn't know how, but when I decided to row across an ocean, I created the United World Challenge campaign and dedicated the crossing that I ended up doing from California to Hawaii in a rowboat by myself, solo and self-supported, dedicated that to raising scholarships for new students to get to go to UWC. And in solidarity in 2020 with Black Lives Matter, worked with United World College USA to award those scholarships to 3 students of color from the US. And so with us today are 2 of those students, Ariane and Yvette, who just graduated after 2 years at United World College USA.
Yes. Oh, thank you for that's such like a regal opening. But
I forgive me for being maybe too formal. I do a little speaking here and there, and so happy to kind of frame things.
That sounded professional.
Yeah, so let us give us a glimpse into who you are, Ariane and Yvette. Yeah, share a little bit about yourselves.
You should. Okay. Well, firstly, me and Ariane, we are twins. We're both from Houston, Texas. We applied to UWC when we were 16 years old after hearing about it from my dad's friend, and from his daughter who actually attended the school and was our second year when we got accepted. My mom is from the Philippines, my dad is from Kenya, and they came to the United States to get better opportunities for their, children, for education, for jobs, for basically a better life. And so me and Ariane were like, UWC-USA seems like the kind of school that would give us challenges education-wise. It will help us grow mentally and like spiritually, and will just make us stronger, better individuals to be ready for, a better future, which is what our parents intended. So when we applied, they were like, they're all for it. They supported us fully. They wanted to really give us that opportunity. And when Ariane and I got accepted to UWC, at first we were really nervous and anxious about like what this school would bring, because we haven't been away from home in a really long time. We've never met such a diverse range of people that are our age with such complex ideas and like intellectually so in tune with the global world, except it really helped us grow into who we are today. Yeah.
Anything to add there? Okay.
I mean, like, she kind of summarized it really well.
All good.
Yeah, took the words out of my
mouth. All right. So you just graduated. This is July, right? You graduated in like May, June. It's really fresh. Take us back to August 2021.
Okay.
What was it like when you first arrived at UWC-USA in rural New Mexico?
All right, well, I can take, yeah. I should answer this question. This is speaking for myself, but I'm pretty sure like I speak on the behalf of like so many other students. But going to New Mexico was like almost like arriving in a completely different country for me, despite being in the United States and literally in the next state over. Like just like speaking for the environment, at least like everything was brown. It was so mountainous. I've never seen mountains like that before. I was just amazed to be in like such a beautiful area of things that were so unfamiliar to me. But then like social wise, just like meeting all these people, like speaking with them and just hearing people coming from countries that I didn't even hear of before, like just learning of my ignorance for the first time. It was so mind blowing, but then it was also really captivating. Like I was so amazed and I was so just completely engaged in the community. Like that excitement, I don't think I've ever felt that sense of wonder like at the big age of 16. I felt like a child who's just like learned about outside world. So that's just how I felt. And then the curiosity and just I don't know. It was just an experience that I can't even like speak to and being in 2021 and first stepping foot on like UWC campus. Yeah. The thing that really stuck out to me about the UWC campus when I first came up was, aside from the beautiful nature and the surrounding that we were in, was that we were still being impacted by COVID just a little bit. Oh, yeah, and so in the first year, we had a 2-week quarantine where we weren't allowed to leave our rooms, and the school would only allow us to leave our rooms like at really weird times during the day. So they'd be like outside time, like we're prisoners. It was at 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., right? Except everyone was so eager to meet each other and like say hello to each other and like be with each other that at 6 a.m. I'm not even lying, the entire first year class was outside in the field doing random things. Like I've never played volleyball before, but I was playing volleyball. I was going on hikes I've never hiked before. I was like talking to people that from countries that again I literally never knew existed. And I was just doing so many different things with so many different people, and also the roommate bonding that happens. Like
yeah, tell us about your roommates. Where were you rooming together?
Oh no,
you weren't, right?
So we were rooming.
Where were your roommates from?
Oh, well, you should. Yeah, I'll go first. So the dorm that I roomed in was Chumalungma, which, if you know anything about UWC-USA, there's like a lower campus section and an upper campus section, and I lived in the lower campus dorms with like the majority of the school population. And my roommate was Florencia Perez, and she was from Uruguay. Yeah, that was your first year roommate. That was my first year roommate. She was a community and belonging RA, which like she literally had so many resources, like everything I needed at the drop of a hat. She arrived later than most other people's roommates. And so like I kind of felt like a little left out in the beginning of the year when everyone's like, my roommate's like this, my roommate's like that, except she definitely made up for the lost time with how she treated me the rest of the year. And she was just a great roommate, so artistic, so smart, so intelligent, so kind. Like she was truly a really compassionate person, and she was amazing. And then my roommate for my first year was Tiana Bushnak. She's from the UAE, but she also claims like Russia, Jordan, Palestine, like so many different countries in that region due to the diaspora. But geez, like Tiana, even you know Tiana, like she's like amazing. Like she's like my big sister. I still talk to her to this day. Yeah. And she came to the graduation. She came to watch my graduation, and like I don't know, she's my favorite redhead. No offense, Tez. But
yeah, my red's mostly gone. It's mostly my
I can see it in the beard. I can see it in the, like my favorite ginger, hands down. Like she was just always there for me. And she was also a community belonging RA. Like she inspired me to be a community belonging RA in my second year. I was just like Tiana just was the perfect roommate to have because she was younger than most of her class. I think she was one of the youngest members of her class. And she and I just got into like shenanigans. Like it was just, we were like the best roommate pair, honestly. That's how I feel, at least.
Wow. It sounds like you lucked out, both of you getting roommates. Yeah. So UWCs are so different from one to the next, right? There are 18 of them. In my case, at Adriatic, there were only a handful of rooms that were doubles. Most were triples. Some were even fours. It was packed. It was like just let's squeeze us all in there. My roommates were from Belarus and Italy my first year, and then Venezuela and South Africa my second year. But just so cool getting to live with people from totally different places and figuring your stuff out together.
Yeah. Oh, I should talk about my roommate from my second year because she's cool too. Yeah, my roommate from my second year is awesome. My roommate from my second year is named Anna. She's Anna Galit. She's from Serbia, and she was just like it was a different experience for me to be the older sister or like the like person that someone would look up to in this scenario, but I feel like I did a pretty good job. I'll be honest. Like I was such a good roommate to her. Like we bonded so well, like in decorating the room, cleaning. Like I think the delegation of tasks in our room was so great. And compared to my first year where our room was always messy, our room was always clean. It was as if like it was last year, but like what's the word? Like just better. Like in the sense of like both of us like being mature and like just getting up to shenanigans with like a bigger degree. Like it was just I don't know. I love both my roommates. Shout out. um, my second year roommate, Junie, they're from the Netherlands and they're also a really good roommate. I would especially like applaud Junie for like one thing in particular, and it's because the third semester of UWC is especially hard because that's the year when you're practicing, when you're submitting EEs, like getting research for your IAs done, like getting college applications done. And Junie was like so intentional and kind with the way that they were treating me, like giving me the space I needed to get my work done. And they were like being really kind and supportive. Like they were like, oh, you need to study for a test, you can like take the room for this time to this time, it's okay. Like they're like, oh, you want time to like de-stress and like relax by yourself, that like that's okay, like I'll just go to another friend's room. Like they were like really good at giving me space, intentional the way that they were talking, and like they just were really kind to me whenever I was like really stressed out in the third semester. So I want to give Junie a shout out too. Thanks for being a really good roommate.
Awesome. Shout out to the roomies. Awesome. So as I was sharing in the intro, UWC's mission, right, is to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. That sounds really lofty, right? But after 2 years at this school with people from all over the world, at least in my case, I started to relate to that mission in a certain way. I'm wondering, having just graduated, what does that mean to you, that idea, that mission?
Well, should I answer? Yeah, if you have one. I feel like it relates back to before we entered UWC, we had to do like this worksheet, right? And in the worksheet, it said like these core values, and one of them was a sense of idealism. And I'll admit, like after like the aftermath of COVID and like BLM, like I was feeling really pessimistic about like the world and like the direction my future was going towards, like especially like economically, politically, socially, like I was kind of scared to be a global citizen in like this society that just felt so like unforgiving and low-key deteriorating as time was going by. But then UWC kind of gave me like a sense of idealism in the way where like I began to believe that if I continue to feel negatively about like my future outlook, it's kind of like I'm self-fulfilling this prophecy. But if I like don't go and follow this mindset, then I can probably like make a change and make the just my future better and like maybe make the world and community better for everyone. So I feel like UWC kind of encourages you to think broader and like don't like and think like in a sense where things can be improved. Like it doesn't have to be the way that it is right now. It can be better, and like you can also make it better with like if you just like think in the most idealistic way possible. So that's what I'm getting from it, at least. It was especially inspiring to keep that sense of idealism alive when seeing people my age like feeling the same way that I do about like certain things. Because when you live in like a community in which everyone's like a little bit different, like everyone has like different ideas, and some of them you might not agree with, some of them you might disagree with, but a lot of the time like you guys will compromise and you'll come up with solutions that work for everyone. And to see like that kind of collaboration and like that kind of spirit in young people, it makes me really confident that like our future is in good hands. And that just made me feel really good going to UWC and like seeing people that are like-minded, and even those that aren't like-minded feeling like compelled to change or like compelled to listen to others and like be empathetic and understanding about different viewpoints. Yeah. It was really truly amazing to have like these kinds of conversations and discussions with people my age in this like in this way. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I totally can relate to that experience at UWC too. Just giving a sense of possibility.
Yeah, sense of possibility.
A different world is possible, and it's not just possible out there, but UWC gives you that little playground to see
exactly
the influence you can make with others right now. And then, you know, you graduate and you move on and figure out, okay, how do I take those values and bring my sphere of influence and vision elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
What's something special you're taking with you from your UWC experience? It could be a memory, it could be something you learned, it could, just however you, that question, whatever that means to you, something special.
Hmm. Um, One thing that I think I'm going to take from my UWC experience, when I first started UWC, we are required to go on an orientation trip, like to like hike with a bunch of people that you don't know in the middle of the wilderness, and you're forced to talk to each other and bond because there's no technology. So it's like that's what we're forced to do in our first year. And I won't lie, I was a little bit nervous because I've never hiked before, I've never camped before. Like the idea of that, like it's gonna sound a little silly, but it kind of terrified me. Like being in the middle of the woods, like the complete darkness, like no technology at all. Like I'm from Houston. I'm not used to that. And so when my instructors were like, "Don't worry, we all have each other. We all have each other's backs. This is what we're going to do." And then I was really amazed with myself that I could do it. Like it seemed like something
Mhm.
that was genuinely so impossible to do, especially like for members of like my community. It's like kind of not as accessible to go outdoors and hike and do things like that, except the fact that I was given like equipment, resources, like I was giving like that belief that I could do that. It just made me show like just like kind of prove to me that I can do a lot of things that I think that I can't. And that's a memory that I'm going to keep with me for a long time because like in UWC, wilderness happens in like 4 stages. Like it's like wild, 2, Wild 3, Wild 4, and I made it all the way. I went on a 5-day backpacking trip. I went on an
Oh,
independent trip without instructors. Like I was like, wow, I'm actually killing this, and it just made me be like, I can do it. Like even if it's something I've never done before, even if it's something that I was genuinely scared to do, and even if it's something that I felt when I was back at home, like that there's no way I'd ever get a chance to do that ever in my life, I can still do it, and I'll never forget that. Yeah, like my answer is kind of like similar to that along the lines of like an opportunity that was presented to me. But like as I mentioned before, I was an RA for my dorm, Castle, which is the upper campus part of what Yvette was talking about with lower upper. And I never would have expected myself to be in like a sort of leadership position where I had that amount of responsibility. Like I was literally like a dorm captain. That was insane, like first of all, and then second of all, it's just like I kind of when I was like in Houston, I just felt like a little kid. Like I was like I felt so irresponsible, like I was allowed to be unreliable. But then I was being put into a position where I had to be the person that people relied on. And so I feel like what I took away from that experience, like what UWC gave me was the fact that um, I could become organized. I could get my stuff together. I could like lead people. I could just, be the person that people can look up to or like be a role model to people. And I guess like being in that small setting as opposed to being like in a like large place, like where there's no leader per se, but then you being the leader instead of the follower. I just that sense of urgency, that sense of like responsibility. That's like one thing that I think I'll take away from UWC, just like the fact that I could be responsible and a leader.
absolutely, yes. I love both of your answers. And um, Ariane, like the leader piece,
Mm-hmm.
another way to describe what UWC does is it makes the leaders of tomorrow,
Yeah.
and UWC is a place to test that out and try different things on and step into that role. And you're like, wait a minute, this works. I didn't realize it, but this works. Right. And so you get to take that piece forward. And um uh Ariane, Yvette, there was something you said that now it's escaping me, but I want to touch on one point. You were sharing what sounded like a little bit of disenfranchisement, right? Like not necessarily having access to these spaces, right? And a piece of fear around that as well. And it reminded me of a couple things. One, today is July 3rd. It's 3 years from the day that I got in my rowboat in Monterey and started rowing out to sea. And I'd never been to sea. I wasn't a rower, wasn't a sailor, I had no sailing experience. And I was terrified, right? The people sometimes think when you do something scary that you're fearless. They think you must be fearless because you did that, and I would be scared, is what they think. But courage isn't not being scared. Courage is taking a step even when you're scared.
Mm-hmm.
And so I applaud you for taking that step with the Wild program and finding that, oh, wait a minute, this place where I was a little bit scared is also a place I can go to grow. right? A place that fear is just telling me that there's something here that I could learn about. So I wanted to just, touch on that. And the other piece is, when I went to UWC at the time, every American who went got a full scholarship. That was, this was almost 20 years ago now. I aged myself, but it was 2004 when I went to UWC Adriatic. And we know that the education system around the world is facing strains, right? Education costs are going up and schools are figuring out how can they make this sustainable. And that includes now that some students, that's I think every student who gets selected in the United States to go to UWCs, 25 of those go to New Mexico, as you did, the other 25 to the rest of the schools, but all those students are expected to pay a portion, right? And I know that I wouldn't have been able to go if that was the case, right? I was raised by a single mom who cleaned hotels and tended bar, and she did the best she could and did an amazing job teaching us things, but tuition would have been out of reach. And I think you shared with me before when we met at UWC that your parents probably wouldn't have been able to afford yourselves going if not for the scholarships from United World Challenge. And so on that note, I just wanted to hear if while you were attending UWC and knowing your support to be there came from several hundred people who you've never met and who will never meet you. What was that experience like, being there in this life-changing place, supported by people who are total strangers?
It kind of felt surreal. Like I would walk around and be like, I wouldn't be seeing this castle. I wouldn't be sleeping in this room, meeting all these people, like doing this project. I wouldn't be like, sometimes whenever I was really stressed out and like, oh my goodness, I completely bombed my economics exam. Now I have to do this, blah, 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 blah. I'd be like, but I'd rather be here doing that because of the support of 1,000 people or like hundreds and thousands of people than like be at home doing the exact same thing that I've always done my whole life. Experiencing something new and something different. It's going to sound kind of corny, but you really can't put a price on it. Except, unfortunately, a lot of the times there are really high prices for those kinds of things.
I guess I felt the same way as you, but the fact that so many people they decided to put money towards my cause, our cause.
They don't know us.
They don't
know us either.
It was 3 random students. They just they thought it was so special for us to sometimes I find myself wondering why me, am I really that extraordinary, am I really that lucky, how could I have been presented this opportunity, how come it was me out of all those people, and so I'm really thankful for the opportunity. I'm really thankful for the chance to be a recipient of that scholarship. And I don't know, in a way it kind of eliminates the imposter syndrome you get typically when you go to one of these really high cost institutions, because it kind of makes me feel I earned it. I earned my stripes and I survived. So I did well with what I was given.
I'm happy that so many people cared.
Yeah.
Cared enough to
finance our education.
So thank you guys.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. And what's amazing about UWC, right? These scholarships continue to pay dividends, right? So after I went to UWC, I went to McAllister College and got a UWC scholarship there. And you both shared a little bit with me about what's next. And I imagine you've gotten some support from this school as well, thanks to UWC. Yeah, share with us what's next for you now that you've graduated.
Hey, do you want to? Okay, so what's next is that me and Ariane both gone to St. Lawrence University at virtually okay, well, at virtually no cost, and it's because of number one.
Heck, yes, celebrate that. That is amazing.
Thank you. Of the Davis Scholarship, because when we got accepted to UWC, we were accepted as Davis Scholars, and so that means that Shelby Davis, which is they use this word so much. Philanthropist. Yes, he's a philanthropist.
He's a philanthropist.
He's a philanthropist. Would finance a significant chunk of your college education, and so he gave us a scholarship to go.
That
to college.
Significant chunk was very significant.
Yeah, the significant chunk was very significant.
So Ben and I ended up going to the same university, and it's also really affiliated with Davis schools. It's a Davis school. It's really affiliated with the United World Colleges. So there are, in fact, more alums from UWC that will attend that institution. And again, if it wasn't for the scholarship that we got to go to UWC initially, we wouldn't have been able to take the next step and go to this school and have another great and amazing experience. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it's really crazy to think about how it's all stepped out into like little plans. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's cool.
And all these little and big wins, these things compound. It's something I've learned in my experience in sports, in business, right? With ultra running and ocean rowing. It's the tiny things don't seem to matter, but each of these things, whether big and small, compound. They don't add up linearly. You know what I mean? Like that
yeah.
first scholarship doesn't just equate to another scholarship of a similar size. It opens a bigger door in a bigger way. And as you go on to college and you know what comes next, of course we'll stay in touch. But one thing that's on my mind, like a piece of advice I share with young people when I meet them, is this role of compounding change, compounding benefits. Like we know that money, you put it in the bank, it compounds. That interest becomes principal, and then there's interest gained on the interest. And the same thing applies to experience in life, right? So this super special UWC experience, and then the super special experiences you're going to have at St. Lawrence University, they have an exponential impact on what you're able to do later. You know what I mean? And I see that in my own journey, like starting with a 5K, then a half Ironman, and then, you know, next thing I know, you know, rowing across oceans and stuff. You just don't know where it's going to go. And so the other side of this that can sometimes be a little cause some disillusionment or disappointment, at least in my own experience, is early in an exponential curve, an exponential equation, the line looks flat. You're not seeing that impact right away. And this also applies to like when you're applying those UWC values and like you're saying, trying to make a change in the world, be a leader, whatever that thing is, you'll be applying yourself and not seeing results right away. It's almost guaranteed that you're not going to see results right away at the level you might want. That's that flat part of the equation. But over time, it starts to compound and then it enters that hockey stick portion and it shoots way up. And so the trick, right, as you go through this transition out of UWC and into St. Lawrence and into work and all the other things, is to have patience when you're in that part of the equation where you're not seeing results, because they will show up as long as you're consistent. And I have no doubt that you will be.
Thank you.
Don't mind me getting on my soapbox for a minute. I just want to share that little piece.
That was so good.
So yeah, I'm curious as we wrap up here, is there anything else you want listeners to hear, anything you want them to know about yourselves, or a final message?
Final message. Wow.
There's so much to say.
I can't even think about one thing. I really can't.
Thank you. I want to say your money really, really does matter to the people that receive it. I hope that you'll continue to support other students like me and Ariane in our journeys to go through UWC-USA and in our journeys in the future. Thank you so much for, you know, taking a step out of your own lives and, you know, trying to see into ours. I hope that this, I don't know what this is, like a recording, like a video, like a promotional video, I guess, will, like, I guess, satisfy you and like seeing that your money did go to two people that really appreciated it and that really, really wanted the opportunity to grow and experience something new and different. And don't hesitate to do that for other people around you, because this world needs a lot of community, compassion, and growth. And the fact that you chose that over the convenience really shows a lot about the person that you are.
Yeah. That was so good.
I love that. Yeah, there's not much more you can add to that. No, that's really poignant. I appreciate that. Yeah. So in 2.5 months, I'm announcing the next United World Challenge.
Whoa! I would have a reunion with all the people.
Yeah.
We're the first ones.
Yeah.
We're the first people to like.
I have to say, the next expedition is focused. The funding, the crowdfund is going to focus on ocean conservation. So so you will, you know, what I do hope is that the United World Challenge does inspire other initiatives and efforts for folks to support UWC, United World Colleges. And, you know, that definitely, like, an idea is that other people can go on their own expeditions and raise funds and support and give back and so forth. while I was at sea for 71 days, though, I saw so much ocean plastic and really wanted to do something about that. So I'll be announcing that next expedition around the corner. I just thought on September 18th, I'll be revealing that piece. But
okay, I'm gonna follow your Instagram super closely. I wish I could double bell.
Yeah, well, you'll be among the first to know, and it's awesome to have this conversation, and congratulations again on completing UWC. It's really not easy, it's hard, and you did it, and yeah, super honored to be able to support you both in your journeys.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you so much.